The goal of this manual is to help interpreting and best applying the standard published by the FCI, that, with the addition of photographs, examples, and explanations, as well as observations, is used as a basis by experienced judges when making their decisions during dog shows. Given the rarity and limited dissemination of the Tosa breed throughout Europe, also considering countries where the breed is strictly forbidden, comparing a number of individuals at the same time in a single show is not easy. Therefore, the aim of this manual is to be of greater help for all those who already know the breed by emphasizing its key features, and for all those who are not yet familiar with the breed by highlighting the key elements to look out for. The Tosa standard is open and concise and can therefore be interpreted in many different ways, particularly with regard to ratios and proportions. Having been created by interbreeding other different breeds, the Tosa breed has resulted in several different types that vary depending on the prevailing bloodlines used over the years. It is therefore possible to find individuals with a strong Mastiff influence, others that are more similar to a German Great Dane, and others that still have more consolidated features with more athletic and muscular builds. In the absence of precise build standards with regard to the size and proportions of the individuals, I have collected over the last 6 years, in a very precise and analytical manner, and using the scientific tools established by practice, the most important measurements of 186 different individuals from different countries, all over 2 years of age and of excellent quality. I take this opportunity to thank once more all the breeders who allowed me to study their best individuals and thus contributed to increasing the volume of data and measurements collected. I have thus been able to draw a picture of the current situation of individuals of this breed, and by calculating average statistics distinguishing between males and bitches, I have been able to obtain minimum and maximum figures for each value recorded. These are very useful for a more precise idea of the head, body, and chest measurements, which can be used as benchmarks for assessment and judgment. Minimum and maximum values of the parts measured make it much easier to assess whether an individual is very far from these values. Benchmark data not only enable judges to better judge and eventually assess individuals, but also help breeders to have a more comprehensive picture and thus better select the breed, while not advancing individuals that are atypical. FCI Standard number 260, 9th of December 1997. To best assess an individual, a pre-requirement is always to clearly understand the function of a breed and the key characteristics required for such activities. Tosa are dogs that have been selected for fighting. Therefore, their distinctive features include strong character, absence of shyness and fear, penetrating gaze, an excellent bone and muscular structure, good athletic movement and agility. They should never be aggressive towards humans. Named after the area where they were first bred, these dogs are sometimes also known as Japanese Mastiffs. The Western breeds used to create the Tosa were the Bulldog in 1872, the Mastiff in 1874, the German Pointer in 1876, and the Great Dane in 1924, all of which were used to improve the breed by means of sequential mating. According to certain sources, the Saint Bernard and the Bull Terrier were also used, although when this crossbreeding exactly took place is not known. The well-established features of the Tosa of stamina and fighting instinct, which are typical of Mastiffs, may be attributed to the infusion of blood from such breeds. Japan boasts a long-standing tradition of dog fighting dating back to the 14th century. Given this background, the breed was obtained by crossing the Shikoku-ken with some Western breeds. The Tosa Inu breed was specifically designed as an unbeatable fighting dog. There is considerable evidence of this form of human entertainment dating back to ancient Roman times, when mastiffs from Great Britain were made to fight in arenas against other animals, including bulls, bears, and other dogs, and even people. Japan, too, is renowned for its history of dog fighting, and these dogs were also used in some military conflicts. In the Japanese province of Kochi, one breed of dog was exclusively selected for fighting. During the Meiji period, under the reign of Japanese Emperor Matsuhito, on the island of Shikoku in Japan in 1868, a special breed of dog was used specifically for fighting. It was given the name Tosa Inu, which derives from the city of Tosa, which is on the island of Shikoku, and the word Inu, which means dog in Japanese. So Tosa Inu means Tosa dog. Those dogs were small to medium-sized and showed exceptional boldness, composure, courage, and stamina. When the Europeans came on the scene, these local Japanese dogs were crossbred with other European breeds with the aim of increasing their size, height, strength, temperament, stamina, and agility, while trying to maintain the qualities of courage, loyalty, boldness, and composure. Thus, through sequential mating, by eliminating bloodlines that had not yielded required results, and by keeping those that had, a new breed was created with even better fighting skills, toughness, and stamina to obtain an almost unbeatable fighting dog. This process helped to combine the size and strength of Western dogs with the courage, loyalty, and fighting skills of Japanese dogs. The Tosa is a massive and athletic dog, and despite its hefty build, it is surprisingly agile. By around 1925, the breed was already well defined, and in 1930, a club was founded in Japan in order to safeguard and disseminate it. In Japan, dog fighting still exists, although the Japanese Dog Federation and the Japanese Kennel Club are against it. During the Second World War, the Tosa breed could only be found in Japan. At that time, the breed risked becoming extinct, as dogs were being killed for their skins, which were used to keep out the cold. Therefore, the number of individuals decreased drastically. After the war, many individuals were taken to the United States, and a new line began to develop, as happened with the Akita breed, which originated in a new breed, the American Akita. At that time, Japan decreed a total ban on exporting Tosa from the country, declaring the breed a national treasure. Therefore, neither live individuals nor frozen salmon could be exported. What in fact happened was a complete block on the possible development of future generations with original bloodlines, thus also effectively limiting and reducing the possibility of outbreeding, as usable individuals obviously decreased. 1945 to 1986. From an initial situation with a certain number of individuals, by dividing the total number in two, as if they were to all intents and purposes two different breeds, the percentage of outbreeding was considerably limited. Therefore, the situation in Japan saw dogs used exclusively for fighting, without any concern for the morphological and typical characteristics of the breed, but rather with a focus on temperament and aggressiveness. In fact, the sole aim was to raise individuals that could be used for fighting, not for beauty shows. Meanwhile, in the United States, the breed was developed with a focus on retaining its original characteristics and seeking to maintain typicality and morphology. Therefore, there were two lines, and these continued to develop for another 40 years in different directions. One that focused on fighting, and the other that focused on morphology, with the aim of maintaining original typicality, with individuals used primarily as guard dogs or for self-defense. In the United States, some breed enthusiasts began to raise excellent individuals with the spirit of preserving morphology and with the aim of improving the breed. (1986 to 1991). Between 1986 and 1987, some individuals were exported to Europe, and the first Tosa breeding kennels opened in the Netherlands, Spain, and France. Overcoming considerable difficulties in developing future generations, given the low number of existing individuals and the high levels of consanguinity, the breed slowly began to spread to other countries and the number of individuals grew. At times, as can be seen by analyzing the pedigrees of different individuals, because few Tosa were available and as they were almost all related, some breeders began to use other breeds for mating in order to change the bloodline and try to improve the characteristics that were slowly being lost. For example, the heads of some did not recall those typical of the Tosa breed, but were more similar to those of the Mastiff or the Great Dane. The same applied to height, body proportions, and build. Some were tall and slimmer, others stockier and heavier. For this reason, when considering a Tosa, it is not always easy to trace all the individual's characteristics back to an ideal type, because, as well as the rarity of existing individuals, there are in fact a number of different types, as explained above. (1991 to 2004). After changes to the political situation in the Soviet Union in 1991, in Eastern European countries, former Soviet Union, some enthusiasts began to breed Tosa. A fair number of breeding kennels opened in the Czech Republic, Poland, and Romania in particular. Overcoming considerable difficulties, several breeders managed to achieve optimal results in terms of individuals with excellent characteristics. Meanwhile, others focused on purely economic motivations, breeding litter after litter and prioritizing financial gain rather than improvement of the breed, using atypical individuals, relying heavily on inbreeding, and without placing particular importance on maintaining character. Four types of individuals can be observed. Number one, in Japan, there was a line that focused only on fighting, that even included atypical dogs, as they were not meant for shows. Number two, in the United States, there was a line that focused on morphological quality and an aptitude as guard or defense dogs, but with few individuals present, thus considerably limiting the possibility of outbreeding. Number three, in Eastern Europe, there were many breeders that fell into two different categories. The first bred and developed these dogs in order to improve the breed and achieved excellent results, whilst the second produced litter after litter without concern for typicality and quality, but focusing merely on financial gain. Number four, in Western Europe, there were few breeders producing medium-high quality individuals that developed the breed primarily because of the passion for it. 2004 up to the present day. The opening up of markets and global economy, the expansion of the European Union, the leveling of costs and technological developments have improved the exchange of information between breeders, making it much quicker and easier to send photographs, request mates, and improve bloodlines. This has led to a considerable improvement in the quality of the breed, and some excellent individuals can now be found in a number of different countries. Unfortunately, there are still too many breeders who only focus on the sale of individuals for financial gain. In Japan, toes are still used only for fighting and never shown. The original morphology typical of Tosa is being lost in Japan because breeders exclusively prioritize temperament and aggressiveness rather than aesthetic factors. It doesn't matter whether the dog is crossed with other breeds, its coat is three-colored or just black and white, whether it is tall or short. What is key is that it wins in the ring against its opponents. Japanese judges never judge toes in Japan, as none are ever shown. Often judges do not even know any breeding kennels or breeders, as they are part of a completely separate world, with different people and contexts involved who are totally foreign to the world of dog shows. In the last 11 years, the Japan Kennel Club registered 34 Tosa individuals in its breed registry born from litters in Japan. 14 were registered from 2007 to 2015, and 20 in 2016 and 2017. Note that from 2009 to 2015, a 7-year period, only 5 individuals were registered. This means that since there is no need for dogs used for fighting to have pedigrees, and given that dogs that are not pure breed can also be used, breeders have no reason to declare litters or request pedigrees. The small number of pedigrees issued confirms that very few breeders are working to preserve and protect the breed. This means that anyone who declares having imported a Tosa from Japan between 2009 and 2015 either imported one of the 5 individuals registered or else imported a dog without pedigree. General appearance. Large-sized dog with a stately manner and robust build. The dog has hanging ears, short hair, a square muzzle, and a hanging tail thick at the root. The dog's general conformation is that typical of a mesomorph, whose trunk is longer than its height at the withers. It has a strong and robust structure that is symmetrical and imposing, but not fat or heavy. It is muscular and athletic, rather than big, heavy-footed, and clumsy in its movements. Important proportions. Average height at the withers, 77.2 centimeters for males, 69.3 centimeters for bitches. Average height at the croup, 76.5 centimeters for males, 69 centimeters for bitches. Average length of the back, 69.3 centimeters for males, 63.3 centimeters for bitches. Average length from the tip of the shoulder to the tip of the buttock, 86.4 centimeters for males, 79.4 centimeters for bitches. Height-length ratio, 1 to 12 for males, 1 to 1.15 for bitches. Bitches are on average 3% longer than males. Behavior temperament. The temperament is marked by patience, composure, boldness, and courage. We should bear in mind that Tosa have been created to fight in silence, fearlessly, and with an incredible ability to endure pain. Selected to win in fights against other animals, the Tosa has been taught by man, through the process of selection, to forget rituals. A Tosa can kill an opponent even when the opponent has been clearly forced into submission. Important proportions of Tosa head have been recorded on subjects at least 2 years old. Average head length, 28.5 centimeters for males, 26.5 centimeters for bitches. Average skull length, 15.5 centimeters for males, 14 centimeters for bitches. Average muzzle length, 11.2 centimeters for males, 10.8 centimeters for bitches. Average muzzle depth, 10.3 centimeters for males, 11 centimeters for bitches. Average angle of stop, 112 degrees for males, 123 degrees for bitches. Head profile. In males, the muzzle to skull ratio is equal to 0.7 to 1. In fact, in males, 11.2 centimeter is the average length recorded for the muzzle, and 15.5 centimeter is the average length of the skull. In bitches, on the other hand, the nasal bridge is slightly longer than in males in ratio to the skull measurement. In fact, the muzzle to skull ratio is equal to 0.77 to 1, where 10.8 centimeter is the average length of the muzzle and 14 centimeter is the average length of the skull. Correct heads, puppies at 2 months, male and bitch. Heads of bitch and male at 3 months and bitch at 4 months. Head profile in adults, male and bitch. Head front view. The skull plate is wide, flat, and should not be rounded. It should be possible to draw a segment whose tips are the 2 ear settings and which is parallel to the skull plate without intersecting it. The muzzle is slightly deeper than it is wide, with a ratio of 10 to 9 in males, whereas it is not as wide in bitches, so the ratio is approximately 10 to 8. The nasal bridge should be straight, and the skull-facial axis should preferably be parallel. The position of the eyes should not be too low or too high compared to the nasal bridge. The ideal angle between the segment tangent to the tip at the front where the lips come together and the lines passing through the center of the eyes should be approximately 32 degrees, as seen in the diagram. Head measures. Average skull width, 19.2 centimeters in males, 16.4 centimeters in bitches. Average muzzle width, 9.3 centimeters in males, 8.1 centimeters in bitches. Average muzzle depth, 10.3 centimeters in males, 9.7 centimeters in bitches. Head front views of puppies. Male at 7 months, male at 4 months, male at 4 months, bitch at 7 months. Head, male. Head, male. Head, male. Head, bitch. Head, bitch. Head, bitch. Bitch 2 years old. Here the nasal bridge is slightly too long compared to the skull. The stop is too gentle and there is a lack of substance under the eyes. Head angulations and proportions. Bitch head with correct parallel axis. Correct proportion skull to muzzle. Correct stop, pigmentation, and front face of muzzle. The skull should be flat, and it should be possible to imagine a virtual line running from where the ears are set to the tips, as if it were a tangent to the skull plate. In the 3 photos below, the first is of a typical and correct skull, the second of a rounded skull, and the third of a skull that is not flat. From left to right, the skull plate is perfectly parallel to the red line. Rounded skull and ears set too low down. Skull not flat and ears set too low down. Very pronounced stop. Clearly pronounced in males. In bitches, it can be slightly gentler. Very pronounced stop. Clearly pronounced in males. In bitches, it can be slightly gentler. A distinctive feature of this breed is represented by wrinkles on the skull, which are particularly pronounced in males. Furrowed eyebrows sometimes give the dog an almost worried expression. Often a characteristic wrinkle runs straight down the entire cheek from the outside corner of the eyelid. Muzzle region. Nose large and black. Muzzle moderately long. Straight nasal bridge. The profile of the nasal bridge should never be concave, convex, or aquiline. It should not exceed a ratio of 1 to 1. The correct size is between 2 to 3 and 1 to 1. Nasal bridge, straight, preferably with parallel axis. In no case should the skull facial axis be convergent. The front of the muzzle, which should be straight or slightly behind the virtual line, running downwards perpendicularly from the tip of the nose. Mask and muzzle. The mask and muzzle can be present or not. However, a uniform color is preferable, possibly not exceeding the eye rim. Shades of color on the skull are admitted. Front face of muzzle. The front of the muzzle, which should be straight or slightly behind the virtual line, running downwards perpendicularly from the tip of the nose. Nose and nostrils. The nostrils must be open and the nose black. Lips. Lips should hang down and be thick and black. Seen from the front, they should form a sort of upturned V or a slightly pointed upturned U. Lips should never be too heavy, hang excessively, or be too slack. Lips. Lips should hang down and be thick and black. Seen from the front, they should form a sort of upturned V or slightly pointed upturned U. Lips should never be too heavy, hang excessively, or be too slack. Strong upper and lower jaws, strong teeth, scissor bite. Strong, healthy, and complete teeth with scissor bite. A pincer's bite is not considered a fault and is tolerated. A slight overshot or undershot bite is considered a fault, whilst a noticeable overshot or undershot bite is considered a disqualifying fault. On the left, a reversed scissor bite that is not correct. On the right, the teeth of an 8-month-old individual with aligned lower incisors and correct scissor bite. Incisors that are not perfectly aligned do not constitute a fault. Priority is given to the strength of the teeth and to the size of the canines and molars. Eyes, rather small, dark brown, and with a dignified expression. They are slightly almond-shaped. In Japan, a light eye color was considered a sign of bad luck. Thus, individuals with light-colored eyes would be put down. Dark brown is the typical color as it hides any sign of fear. Eye examples. The typical color of puppy's eyes is blue-gray up to about 1 month of age. Then the color starts to change until it becomes brown. Puppy with light blue eyes, correct eyes, shape of eyes not correct, mild ectropion. Dignified expression as it hides any sign of fear. Bitch, male, puppy, bitch. Ears, relatively small, rather thin, set high on the sides of the skull and hanging close to the cheeks. Although this breed was created to fight, it has never had its ears cropped. In the fourth photograph, the ears are set too high up. Ear examples. Ears are excessively long, not triangle-shaped, and set too low. Ear shape is correct, but the ears are set too low. Ears are too long and set too low. Ear shape is correct, but the ears are set too close to the skull. Ear shape and length are correct, and they are set correctly. Muscular neck with a dewlap. The dewlap is a typical feature of this breed and of most fighting dogs in general. Normally, it should be long enough to be grabbed by an opponent, but the length must also allow an individual that has been grabbed to turn its neck and bite the other dog on the muzzle, ears, or upper part of the neck without being blocked. An individual without a dewlap is more likely to succumb in a fight. The skin must be thick and elastic. Examples with correct dewlap. Examples with correct dewlap. Muscular neck. Body. High withers, horizontal and straight back. Body, high withers, horizontal and straight back. Body, horizontal and straight back. Back examples. Not correct, correct. Broad and muscular loins, croup slightly arched at the top. Broad and deep chest, ribs moderately sprung. The chest should descend to the elbow without exceeding it. It should be broad and deep. Slight white markings on the chest are permitted, but not on the neck. Well drawn up belly. Observing the duck from the side, the tuck-up must extend in a slightly ascending line, forming a trapezium shape with the back. Tail. Thick at the root, tapering towards the tip, reaching the hocks when let down. Thickness at the root of the tail in young individuals is a sign of good development and size in adulthood. At rest, the tail is carried low or straight or in a sickle shape, especially in adult males. When alert, it is always high and straight and either saber or sickle shaped. In movement, the tail is always set as a natural extension of the top line and is either straight, sickle-shaped, saber-shaped, or pointing downwards without curve. Limbs. Average height of the withers, 77.2 centimeters in males, 69.3 centimeters in bitches. Average height at the elbow, 41.7 centimeters in males, 35.6 centimeters in bitches. Average ratio elbow to withers, 69.3 centimeters in males, that is 49.5%, 63.3 centimeters in bitches, that is 48%. The height at the elbow is therefore an average in a ratio of 1:2 to the withers in both males and bitches. Forequarters. Moderately sloping shoulder, straight, moderately long and strong forearm. Forequarters are strong, straight, parallel, and not too close together. Shoulders and arms are very muscular. On the left, an example of correct angulations with straight and parallel limbs. In the second picture, front legs are not parallel. On the right, an example of a moderately inclined shoulder and a straight, long, and strong forearm. Scapulohumeral angles, croup, and knee angulations. The scapulohumeral angle recorded ranges from 92 degrees to 101 degrees, and the theoretical line running from the withers perpendicularly to the ground should pass through the rear part of the elbow. Elbows are correctly positioned when turned neither inwards nor outwards. The croup has an inclination of approximately 35 degrees, and the angle at the knee is 105 degrees. Minimal or excessive angulations at the knee do not permit the individual to move correctly. Slightly inclining and robust pastern. The average angle recorded at the pastern is approximately 22 degrees. Toes should always point forward and never outwards. The pastern must not be flexed, as this would compromise stability when standing. Hindquarters. Very developed muscles, stifle and hug joints, moderately angulated, strong. Incorrect values in the third picture. The average angle recorded at the hock is approximately 130 degrees, with an average length for males of approximately 20 centimeters. Normally, the length of the hock is indicatively equal to 25% of the height at the withers. Extremely muscular thigh, knee turned neither inwards nor outwards, metatarsals straight and perpendicular to the ground. Seen from behind, limbs are straight and parallel. Examples of knee and hock not enough angulated. Tightly closed feet, thick and elastic pads, hard nails, preferably dark in color. On the front feet, toes are tight and arched, cat feet, with thick pads. The hind feet are slightly longer than the front ones. Toes are tight and arched. Nails are typically black. Where the feet are white, the nails concerned are often creamy white. White on the feet, closed and arched toes, long and open toes and feet not arched, toes too long and not arched enough, weak metacarpal. Robust and powerful gait. A heavy and fat individual, which does not necessarily mean a large dog, or one that has leg or gait problems, would definitely be penalized in a fight. To beat an opponent, a dog must be agile and reactive, with straight forequarters, and it must be able to move fluidly and freely, not in the heavy manner typical of a Mastiff or an Italian Mastiff. Slightly cow-hocked hind legs are tolerated, as they are often typical of larger dogs reared on slippery surfaces. In order not to slip, dogs often adapt incorrect foot posture. However, a dog that moves well is always preferable to a dog that may also have other faults, as in any case they would be considered less serious. The gait should be free, with a good reach in front and a strong drive behind. Seen from the front and back, movement should be straight with limbs parallel. Dogs should never have a short gait or amble. During movement, the tip of the front foot should reach the nose, creating a sort of double triangle with the front and rear paws, as shown below. Movement. Coat. Short, hard, and dense hair, red, fawn, apricot, black brindle color. Slight white markings on the chest and feet are permitted. Color should be uniform in all varieties. In brindle individuals, streaks should follow the line of the ribs and be clear and well outlined, without gradations or speckling. A 2 or 3 color code is not permitted. White markings on the chest and the feet are permitted. Any white marks on the neck or on the tail are highly undesirable. Not correct colors. White markings on the muzzle, head, and neck, socks extending too far, coat of 3 colors. Not correct colors. Coat color is not uniform, too much black on the head, too extended white on the chest, and surrounded by black. Size. Minimum height at withers, 60 centimeters for males, 55 centimeters for bitches. It is important to specify that only one size is provided for with regard to both males and bitches. The breakdown into separate weight classes only exists in Japan and only in order to separate individuals for fighting. The standard only provides for a single minimum size and no reference is made to weight. The indicative weight of an adult male ranges from 65 to 85 kilograms, whilst for bitches it ranges from 48 to 65 kilograms. For Tosa, no minimum or maximum weight is provided. Full development and the perfect formation of the chest and the head occurs at around 3 years of age. For the first 15 to 18 months, individuals grow in height without developing much mass in the chest and back areas. Development of the skull and body is completed later. Young dogs that are already rather heavy will almost certainly have problems with their joints and stamina in the future. In any case, dogs that are large, imposing, and well proportioned, but not fat, are preferable. Muscular development is fundamental, as in a fight, a dog must be agile, athletic, and slim, and must equally have a lot of stamina. An imposing muscular build must be supported by a large bone structure with excellent joints and non-inflamed cartilage tissue. Although impressive in a fight, a heavy and fat dog would be destined to succumb quickly. In the ring, dogs must move freely with a long reach and good push of the hindquarters. The head must be carried high unless the dog is pointing at something or someone ringside. A straight lifted tail is a sign of dominance and confidence. A characteristic trait is a still tail that curls upwards. This indicates that the dog is not scared to face another individual and is sizing up the situation. At such times, the gaze is fixed and breathing slows. The hair on the back and croup stands up and the speed of movement of the tail is reduced or even stopped. Criteria for selection among various dogs in a ring could be the following. An initial selection could be made based on gait, eliminating individuals that do not move well and that do not push powerfully off their hindquarters. Next, the lines of the back, the straightness of the forelegs, and muscle development could be examined. And finally, the head. Any departure from the above points should be considered as a fault, and the seriousness with which the fault should be regarded should be in exact proportion to its degree. Thin bones, snippy muzzle, slightly overshot or undershot bite. The standard does not make any distinction between minor and serious faults. However, below is a classification of such faults broken down into 2 lists in order to help expert judges to assess individuals present in the ring. Minor faults: reverse scissor or pincers bite, lower incisors not aligned, teeth too small, Roman nose, muzzle too long in ratio to the skull, stop too abrupt, extremely divergent skull facial axis, heavy constitution, individual high or low on its limbs, slight east-west front in adult individuals, feet turned out or turned in, pastern inclined more than 30 degrees, presence of dew claws. Serious faults: apple-shaped skull, yellow eyes, hawk eyes that protrude or are set too deep, wall eyes or eyes of different colors, entropion or ectropion, conjunctiva too red, excessive eyelid length, ears set low or very long, overshot or undershot bite, muzzle too deep or narrow or pointed, nose not completely black, lips and or eye rims not completely black, convergent skull facial axis, lightweight build, top line not straight and solid, saddle or roach-backed, scapula in a vertical position, slanting croup, tail with clear signs of trauma, thicker at the tip or docked, hocks turned inwards or outwards, toes too long and not arched, weak or overly flexed pastern, slight bone structure, size smaller than the minimum permitted, individual aggressive with people, individual insufficiently typical. Disqualifying faults: extremely overshot or undershot bite, shyness. Note: males should have two apparently normal testicles fully descended into the scrotum.